Hi, welcome to our channel. I'm Luke and we're here in sunny central Portugal, another beautiful day. And today I want to talk about solar power. Now, one of the first things that you have to think about when you buy a piece of land and want to live off-grid is obviously setting up an off-grid solar system. So I want to make it clear from the beginning that I have no experience in electricity. I'm no electrician, that's for sure. Actually, I'm quite not scared of it, but even just thinking of setting something up like this was very daunting to me because I had never done it, obviously, and it's serious stuff, you know. I mean, when it comes to electricity, it's always recommended to get a professional. I didn't have much choice. We needed solar power, and we couldn't afford a huge one, and we couldn't afford any big installation costs, so I had to do it myself. I did get some help from a neighbor and from a friend where they explained a lot of things to me, and electricity is one of those things where it goes in and out pretty much the same day. But slowly now that I've also done the electricity in our gypsy caravan, so I've been learning, and slowly some of it is starting to stay in there. So let's just start off. Like, these are some basics, what I learned online. If I'm not making sense to all you professionals out there, please let us know in the comments. I don't want to give out any false information, but my solar system works and I did it, so I'm pretty sure it's well set up. But anyway, so you'll see online when you're looking for solar systems, there'll be like 5 kilowatt systems, 10 kilowatt systems. What does that mean? Well, all it is, from what I gather, is the amount of power these solar panels can produce in an hour. So each of these panels over here are 330 watts, watt hours they produce in 1 hour. And I've got 6 of them, so this is just over a 2 kilowatt system. Now, an average household in the Western world uses about 37 kilowatt hours a day, which is loads. And if you're going to keep using that amount of energy, you're going to end up having to spend tens and tens of thousands of euros, especially in Portugal, where it's a bit more expensive to set up solar panel systems. In Malta, you actually get government rebates, incentives and stuff. Over here, there's no such thing, from what I gathered, or when I actually installed these, there was nothing. I don't think there is now, but you never know. So I think the first rule of going off grid is use less energy. The second rule is keep an eye on your batteries and try not to go down below the 80% mark. So you only use 20% of your batteries overnight while they're not charging. This is to prolong the life of your battery. It's recommended that you don't go below 50 for sure, 50% of the batteries, the voltage. But if you don't go below 80, it prolongs the life of your batteries. The batteries are the most expensive thing of the whole system. When we first got here, I went around all the companies here in Castelo Branco to see what they can offer. I didn't know much about solar energy at all. So the first thing when you go in, they ask you what kind of system you need. So they try and figure out what kind of appliances you want to run, so they can figure out what kind of system suits your needs. We decided to go for a very small one because we couldn't afford anything too big, and we've lived many years on and off in vans and caravans and tents, so even just having a small system was enough for us. When we first got to the land, I bought a small generator, like for 100 euros, and I bought a little electronics inverter, which was more expensive than the generator. I think it was about 150 euros, just to protect all the electronics, because really all we needed it for was to charge our phones, our laptop, and to charge batteries for our power tools while we were setting up and building little bits and pieces. Got a 2 kilowatt system, 6 panels of 325 watts each, so they produce about 2 kilowatts an hour. Now, on average, they say you'll get about 4 hours of full sun per day. And the batteries I have are 230 amp hours. Now, if that just sounds like gibberish to some of you, like it did to me. I have they're 12-volt batteries. Now I had to connect them in series and in parallel. In series means you connect the positive to the negative of the other battery. So then you double the voltage, so they become 24-volt batteries. So I have 4 batteries, so they're connected in series, which makes them 24 volts, which is the voltage of my inverter charge controller, and in parallel. So in parallel you double the amp hours, so it becomes 460. That basically means if you multiply amp hours by the voltage, you get your watt hours. So it's 24 times 460 amp hours, which comes to about 11 kilowatt hours. So if you can only use to try and extend the lifespan of the battery 20% of that, it's basically just over 2 kilowatts. So from the moment the sun goes down and the batteries aren't charging, you basically have 2 kilowatt hours to use between now and the following morning when the sun comes up. So if you have 3 days without sun, you're either going to run out straight away with this small system, or else you can try and limit the amount you use. So you could try and use 600 watt hours per day, 666. So that's just a basic idea of how things work, or how I understand them anyway. We're going to do another video on what we actually run on these panels, so you can see if that will suit you. If you're planning on setting up a solar system for yourselves, where you're not going to have a dishwasher and an iron and an electric kettle and stuff like that. Things with the thermostat are going to use up more energy. But yeah, this is enough for us. It's mostly sunny in Portugal, so in the morning it charges up the batteries from the power that we used the night before, and then once they're full, it bypasses the battery, and so we try and use most of the power around midday when the batteries are nice and full, and we'll be using the diverted power directly from the solar panels. So power tools, we charge up our laptop and stuff like that. We try and be a bit sensible, and after the sun goes down we try not to use much, just in case we'll have a cloudy day the next day. Once I decided on the size and the type of batteries, which is a whole other video, we decided to go with gel batteries, 12-volt ones. Now that I know a bit more, I wish I went for 2-volt ones, because they have a longer lifespan. They're a bit more expensive, but in the long run, their lifespan is like twice as long. If you want to get the best out there, lithium will be that choice, but they're much more expensive. They do have an even longer lifespan than that. I mean, they can last 20 years. Once we decided what we wanted, I found this salesman in Portugal who sells these solar systems, but from a company in Spain, and they were about 1,000 to 1,500 euros cheaper than buying them here without installation. So we decided to go for that, and we're hoping that we'd be able to find someone who could install them for us on a decent enough price. I paid around 3,400 for everything as a kit. If you do want a recommendation for someone that sells equipment in Portugal, I now have a really good one. A friend of mine up north just bought a really good system, and it's priced around the same price as pretty much like mine. Maybe mine was slightly cheaper, but it was delivered within 1 to 3 days. And if you're around this area and you're looking for someone to install it, I now have found someone who charges $12.50 an hour to install it. I mean, you can do some work yourself, but if you're not totally comfortable with wiring and stuff like that, you might as well get a pro. If I could have gotten this guy for $12.50 an hour, I would have gotten him, because when I tried to get a quote from this Portuguese company, they quoted me 1,500 to install it. I had everything here. It wasn't going to cost them anything in materials. It was just to wire it all up. So I couldn't afford that. I didn't want to spend 1,500 just to set it up. I mean, it took me a day. It would take them much less, you know. I've never done anything like this before. So anyway, long story short, I decided to do it myself. So first thing you want to do is put your panels facing the right direction with the right tilt and decide exactly how you're going to do them. You have to decide on a couple of things. You have to decide if they're going to be fixed in position for the whole year. Ideally, you should move them 4 times a year, every 3 months for all the seasons, because obviously as the sun in summer it's the highest point, and then slowly it gets lower and lower for the winter months and then back up. So in summer your panels should be 15 degrees more than your latitude. Now if that's complete gibberish to you once again, if you want to find out the latitude of where you're living, just go onto Google Maps and click the dot to see where your location is, and then you can right click on it, and it will tell you there's one of the options which is called "What's this?" and you click that and it will give you your latitude and longitude. Now our latitude is 39.8857235. So plus 15 for winter, plus 15 degrees, which would make it 54.8 degrees. So the angle from the floor, from a flat surface, that would be 54.8 degrees. And then it's summer, it's your latitude, 39.8 in our case, minus 15, which makes it 24.8. So much flatter on the ground. The sun is higher in the sky, so it's more perpendicular from the sun to the panels. Poppy, come on. Wah! She scratched my neck. Okay, Poppy. She wants to be in the video, I'm afraid. So is that comfortable, Molly, for you? Shall we keep talking about solar stuff, or do you want to get down? Let's get down. Come on. 1, 2. No, you want to stay there? Come on. Come on. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. So which direction should they face? Now, they should face, if you're in the northern hemisphere, they should face south. Not the magnetic south, but true south. To find true south, all you need to do is find solar noon, which is the exact midpoint between sunrise and sunset. And today, the Wednesday 2nd of September, sunrise is at 6:59 a.m. and sunset is at 7:59 p.m. So the midway point is exactly 1:29 p.m. So it's currently 1:28:11 seconds. So all you need to do is get either a stick. What I've done is just hung a heavy weight at the end of a piece of cord, like a plumb line. Just make sure it's not moving too much. As long as the floor is flat, you can use a pole that's perfectly perpendicular to the ground. And basically the shadow that it casts over here, you can see, that is the north to south. So that is true south. So you just put a stick here. The shadow hits the stick. Just make sure that's not moving in the wind. Like so. So that direction at 1:29, as you can see, that direction is true south. This is just one of the ways that you can find true south. I mean, if you have a pole that's perfectly perpendicular on a level ground, you can see the shadow that it casts without having to mess around with stuff like this. There's other ways too. But yeah, so you need to face your solar panels true south, that direction. So once you've figured out true south, you can face the panels to that direction. Now I was talking about tilt. If you're going to change the position of the tilt twice a year, let's say for summer and for winter. In winter, since my latitude is 39.8, in winter I would want them at 54.8 degrees, like I said, and in summer, flatter to the ground, 24.8. Now mine are fixed. They're fixed there all year round. So you would think that a spot in the middle, which would be the latitude, 39.8, is the best place. But apparently with this equation, you can be more efficient, 4% more efficient. If your latitude is below 25 degrees, use the latitude times 0.87. Okay, and that will give you a degree at which to set it. Now, if your latitude is between 25 and 50, use your latitude times 0.76 plus 3.1 degrees. So in my case, I'm between 25 and 50, I'm 39.8. So 39.8 times 0.76 plus 3.1 gives me a degree of 33.4. So that's what they're set up. They're set at 33.4 degrees from the ground. So that angle, so that's good for all year. So we've talked about the tilt, we talked about the direction. So now we'll go on to actually when I set them up, the wiring. So first thing I did was I made 4 concrete blocks. You can see them here somewhere. Under here there's 4, I made 4 about 12 by 12 concrete blocks. So I just put 4 pieces of wood as a mold, mixed up some concrete, poured it in, and then I bought these rowboats over here. I bought some steel hollow section pipe, which is somewhere here. I think you can see it over there. So I have them 2 for each set of 3 panels. Once I figured out the direction they need to be, drilled them, bolted them to these hollow section pipes over here, and then just as a safety precaution, just because of the strength of the wind, I got 4 of these concrete blocks, filled them with concrete, and put them on top of that as well. So there's bolts onto these. So they're like really, really secure. We've had really, really windy days where they've taken down trees and stuff, and these haven't even moved. So that worked out pretty well. So once I've had them in position, then I had to wire them. So over here you can see out of each panel you have a positive and the negative. You connect the positive to the negative of another in series, basically, and then the negative from one goes into this kind of plug where you connect 3. It connects 3 of them, so that's from 3 panels. So basically you get 3 positives and 3 negatives from the 6 panels. So they're connected 2 together, 2, 2, 2. So you connect the positive to the negative. The negative from one goes direct to the negative set, and the positive from the second one comes into the positive one. So like that you get 3 and 3. This is the solar wire that came with the kit. It's 10 meters long and it's 4 millimeters squared. So if they give you a longer wire, if the distance between where you want your batteries and inverter and charge controller is further away than 10 meters, you'll need a thicker wire. But if you buy a kit, they should give you the right wire to go with your system. So they should give you the right thickness for the length that they give you. So now we'll move on to the wiring and how I set up the batteries in the solar room, we call it anyway. Okay, so this is the little room I built for it. Now you need your batteries out of the sun, obviously. You want to try and keep them at an ambient temperature around 23 degrees, 24 degrees Celsius. You want to try and keep your batteries the same temperature throughout the year to prolong their life. So that's why I built this room. The wire is 10 meters, like I said, so yeah, it's about 7-8 meters away from the panels. So I just used concrete bricks. I made a little foundation with some concrete bricks, built this room and roofed it with the Portuguese tiles. So here I have my cable coming from the panels, the positive and negative, and that goes into the back there, and then I'll show you from the inside. And then the other wire here, the other wire that's coming out the back there, that is the earth which goes to my earthing pole. That's like 1.5 meters or 2 meters long, and I banged it into the ground, so your earth comes out of there, so the system is properly earthed. That was something new that I had never done before, but I got some tips from my neighbour, like I said, and he kind of put my mind at rest, because I was I was very unsure about it. But anyway, okay, so now we can go on inside. Okay, so we're inside what we like to call the solar room. Quite a few cobwebs here, and we have a resident gecko somewhere. I think he's probably behind this inverter charge controller. So here's my 4 230 amp 12 volt gel batteries. So to help keep the batteries at an ambient temperature, they're completely insulated with polystyrene. It's underneath this silver tape. So there's 60mm polystyrene all the way around here, underneath, and that helps with keeping them at the same temperature. So as you can see, they're connected in series, so positive to negative, and positive to negative, and then in parallel, negative to negative, positive to positive. Like that, they become a 24 battery system, because in series you double the voltage, and twice as much amp hours, so 460 amp hours. So then, off that comes the positive, which is fused over there. So you can disconnect, and there's a big fuse in there. Safety first, and that goes in positive and negative. It's pretty straightforward, and the negative comes off the other battery here, and it goes into the negative. Then over here we have, this is the solar wire coming in, and I have a 60 amp breaker just in case something goes wrong, and you can also turn it off from here, so it cuts off if I need to do anything here, or I can just hit this button and I'll have no power coming in, so at least it's safe. This is a 3 kVA inverter charger regulator, 24 volt, 60 amp MPPT. So that's the solar ones coming in, and under here it says where the negative and positive for the solar, PV in. So it's pretty straightforward. That goes in there, the batteries go in there, and then over here I have the earth coming out to the earthing rod over there. And this is the 240 volt AC out. So this is the normal kind of household electricity, and that's going to my box over there, and that is standard. And that over there is standard 240 electricity. I have three breakers, three circuits there set up. One just goes to the greenhouse and to a couple of points outside, so I can use my power tools. We have a freezer there. One is for the gypsy caravan, and the other one at the moment is empty. And then I have this, which is my alternate, this is my generator. So if we have no sun for a couple of days, I normally top up the batteries with the generator. The generator, unfortunately, we didn't buy one with auto start, because otherwise you can set it up that if it drops below a certain percentage, this will automatically start the generator, which keeps it topped up, which is a handy thing, but it doesn't happen very often, only in winter sometimes. And I think last year it happened twice. So normally I just keep an eye on the voltage of my batteries, and there's all the settings here, and it tells you everything. And I just come in, and if I see it's been cloudy for a day, keep an eye on it, and then just turn on the generator for a couple of hours just to keep it topped up. I would always recommend getting a professional to do it, but I didn't have any option, so I had to do it myself. It worked out well. To be honest, like I said, if I knew about this guy who charges $12.50 an hour, I would have most probably set everything up, put everything in place. I would have researched it and just had everything ready here, so when he comes, it'll just be a couple of hours, you know, and he can check everything, and at least most of the work would have been done, and I've reduced his working hours, you know. I mean, if you have everything set up, it's going to be pretty sweet, eh? I mean, it's not going to take that long for him. Like I said, this didn't take me long at all. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe gave you a bit of courage to look into it and at least get things set up so you minimize the cost of installation. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Don't forget that notification bell. Our channel has got a bit of everything on it. My profession was chef, so there's a lot of really good recipes from all over the world that I picked up while traveling. So if you're into that, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.